Emma and Michael met when they were young, long before either of them understood how complicated love could become. They lived in the same quiet town and grew up knowing each other. Michael was kind, hardworking, and ambitious. Emma was gentle, patient, and deeply in love with him. They dreamed about getting married one day. They would sit together in the evenings, talking about the house they would build and the family they would have. Michael always told her, "Emma, no matter what happens, I will come back for you." Emma believed him. Then Michael got an opportunity to work in another city. It wasn't the kind of opportunity he could refuse. Before he left, he held Emma's hands and promised her, "Give me time. I will work hard, save enough money, and come back for you." Emma smiled through her tears. "I'll wait." Michael left the next morning. At first, everything was fine. He called Emma every evening. He told her about his new job, his difficult boss, and his dreams for their future. Emma listened patiently and encouraged him. Whenever she missed him, she reminded herself, "He is doing this for our future." But after several months, Michael's calls became less frequent. Emma would stare at her phone, waiting for it to ring. Sometimes she called him repeatedly, but he wouldn't answer. She became worried. Then one day, she received a message from an old friend. "Emma, I don't know how to tell you this, but I think you should know." The message contained a photograph. Emma opened it. Her heart sank. Michael was standing beside another woman. They looked happy. Emma couldn't breathe. She immediately called him. No answer. She called again. Still nothing. She sent messages. Nothing. That night, Emma cried herself to sleep. She couldn't understand how the man who had promised to return to her could disappear without explanation. Weeks became months. Months became years. Eventually, Emma stopped waiting. She still loved Michael, but she learned how to live without him. She started a small business and focused on rebuilding her life. Then she met Daniel. Daniel was different from Michael. He was always there. He called when he said he would call. He kept his promises. He respected Emma and never made her question how he felt about her. Slowly, Emma allowed herself to love again. After 2 years together, Daniel proposed. Emma said yes. Her wedding preparations began. But even though she was moving forward, a small part of her heart still wondered what had happened to Michael. She never told Daniel. She didn't want her past to destroy her future. The wedding day finally arrived. Emma was dressed beautifully, surrounded by family and friends. She looked into the mirror and whispered to herself, "This is a new beginning." Then someone knocked on the door. Emma's heart suddenly started beating faster. She opened it and froze. Michael was standing there. He looked older, tired. His eyes were filled with regret. Emma stared at him. "What are you doing here?" Michael swallowed hard. "I came to tell you the truth." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "There is nothing left to explain." "There is," he said. "That woman in the picture was my sister." Emma became completely silent. Michael explained everything. Shortly after he left town, his mother became seriously ill. Michael spent almost all his money on her treatment. Then he lost his job. He became desperate. He tried calling Emma, but his phone was stolen. When he finally got another phone, he discovered that Emma's number was no longer active. He returned to the town several times looking for her, but he couldn't find her. Then something even worse happened. Michael was involved in a serious accident. He spent months recovering. By the time he was able to return home again, years had passed. He had searched for Emma, but he believed she had moved on. "I never stopped loving you," Michael said. Emma wiped her tears. Then why didn't you try harder? Michael lowered his head. I did. But every time I found a little hope, something happened. I thought you had forgotten me. Emma looked at him for a long moment. You broke my heart. I know. I waited for you. I know. And then I had to learn how to live without you. Michael's eyes filled with tears. I am sorry. Silence filled the room. Then Michael looked at her wedding dress. You're getting married? Emma nodded. I am. Michael smiled sadly. Then I won't stop you. He turned to leave, but Emma stopped him. Michael. He turned around. She looked at him with tears in her eyes. I loved you for so many years. Michael didn't say anything. But love isn't only about waiting, Emma continued. It's also about being there. Michael nodded slowly. I understand. He walked away. Emma stood there crying. For a moment, she wondered if she was making the right decision. But then she remembered something important. She had already spent years waiting for someone who wasn't there. Now there was a man who had never made her wait. Daniel, the man who had stood beside her when she was broken. The man who had loved her without asking about her past. The man who had shown her that love was not only about promises, it was about actions. Emma went through with the wedding. She married Daniel. Years later, she sometimes thought about Michael, not with anger, not with regret, but with gratitude, because Michael had taught her that sometimes people can love each other deeply and still lose each other. And Daniel had taught her something even more important. True love isn't just the person who makes your heart beat faster. It is the person who stays when life becomes difficult. The person who keeps showing up. The person whose actions match their words. And sometimes the greatest love story isn't about the person you waited for. It's about the person who was there when you finally stopped waiting. Because love is not measured by how long someone makes you wait. It is measured by how faithfully they choose you.